Welcome to the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast, a spin-off of the Substack Loud Nerd in the Basement, your home for authentic news and reviews on nerdy movies and TV shows. Now, time for the Friday News Roundup. Well, welcome back to another Friday News Roundup edition of the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam Zolnai. Thank you so much for listening, however you may be listening. As always, this podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, and YouTube. Highly recommend you check out the YouTube page because I always got a few shorts coming out every week. Little fun things here and there and announcements, reviews that may be coming up. Just little things like that, or maybe instant reactions to breaking news, something like that. So be sure to subscribe to that if you haven't already. Man, I can't believe it. We're on episode 20 already. I'm really grateful for your support and feedback on this podcast. A lot of people seem to like it. I enjoy doing it, and it makes it a lot easier talking about the news this way than writing it down, just because I loved writing it down, but man, it got to the point where those were going to be almost short novellas at some points, with just how much was coming out and all the things I had to say about certain things. So I'm glad I get to do this. And if you want the full Loud Nerd in the Basement experience, you can become a paid subscriber on my Substack. One, it helps support me and helps me continue to bring you good content and just better stuff, and it allows you to also interact with me because there's some perks that come with that. You get to be able to submit questions here on the podcast that I'll answer. I got one today that's really good. As always, you guys are really good at coming up with interesting questions for me to think about and answer on here. I love it. You also get access to spoiler articles for big blockbuster movies, like next Monday. I have one coming out for Spider-Man Brand New Day. There's a lot to spoil there. A lot that I left out of my spoiler-free review, which is up on the Substack right now. You can check it out, Loud Nerd in the Basement on Substack. And also you get access to my monthly rewind reviews. And I just had one that came out this past Monday for The Rocketeer, and it was actually requested by one of my paid subscribers, so that's another perk you get as well. You can ask me to review any movie, just no horror movies, please. I'm not the biggest horror guy. I'm already bracing myself for having to go see Clayface because it's a comic book movie, but I'm not that big into horror, so please do not torture me. But if you request it, I'll try to power my way through it, or I will write about my experience not being able to do it because I was too chicken to do so. But either way, I really appreciate your support, whether you're a paid or a free subscriber. You guys are awesome. I am, again, so blessed that I get to do this. And there's a lot of news to talk about, some good, some bad, but we'll actually start off with a positive piece of news. There's a lot of Marvel news out this week, which makes sense. Obviously, you have Spider-Man Brand New Day swinging to theaters and just clobbering the competition wholesale. But we actually got some X-Men casting news. Obviously, we didn't get any at San Diego Comic-Con, which again surprised me, but at the same time it makes sense because, like I said last week, I think they're trying to keep the focus on Doomsday and Secret Wars and all the big X-Men stuff. They'll do a huge X-Men reveal and panel, I'm sure, in a couple of years once Doomsday and Secret Wars has dropped, maybe even before Secret Wars, just to kind of get people hyped up for the next thing. But we did get some news that actress Samara Weaving, Hugo Weaving's niece, actually, which is surprising. I didn't know it, but it makes sense. You look at them next to each other and you can kind of see a little bit of a family resemblance. But she has been cast as the MCU's Emma Frost. Obviously, from the sounds of it, she's going to be in the X-Men movie that we get from Jake Schreier, who directed Thunderbolts. So odds are she may be one of the villains, or maybe they have it to where she's already on the team. In the comics, she's played both sides, and in recent years kind of been more of a ally than a villain to the X-Men. But I love this casting. She is, like, this is perfect. I haven't seen a lot of her movies. I've seen clips, mostly from the Ready or Not series, but the clips that I have seen, I've been really impressed with her acting and her range. She can do some more goofy over the top bits, which would you need for X-Men, because again, you're especially on set, you're doing a lot of things with your hands and stuff, and pretend you're shooting lightning bolts out of your fingers or whatever, and she seems like she's able to do that. She seems to have a great sense of humor, but also very snarky, which is what you want for Emma Frost. So, and of course, she looks beautiful. So, overall, this is a 10 out of 10 movie casting. Like, I don't think anyone is upset about this. And I'm really excited to see what they do with Emma Frost, because she was really underutilized in the Fox X-Men universe. Obviously, she showed up in X-Men Origins Wolverine for some reason. And then January Jones played her in X-Men First Class. And she was good in that movie, but they really underutilized her. She seemed more of just kind of like a femme fatale henchwoman for Kevin Bacon's actual villain more than Emma Frost herself. Like, Emma Frost can be a villain of an X-Men movie, and I wonder if maybe we're going to get like the Hellfire Club, and that's going to be the first villain for the X-Men to fight, as opposed to going straight into Magneto. Because I do think that they're going to hold off on him, just because Magneto was so overused in the X-Men movies. Now, granted, you have two amazing actors in Michael Fassbender and Sir Ian McKellen playing Magneto, so obviously, yeah, you'd want to use them, but it'll be nice to kind of get other villains the spotlight for the MCU, and I think it would be smart to kind of keep Magneto in the background for like a second movie. Or again, in my suggestion that I have on my Substack, I put, why not make Magneto the first new Avengers villain for whoever the new Avengers team is after Secret Wars and after the reboot, whatever that looks like. Why not make Magneto the villain, so you can really kind of hone in on that idea of like mutants and why the public fears them, and the hot debate there, and be like, oh, hey, there's this guy that just moved the Brooklyn Bridge and threw it, at us. These guys are scary. And then you have the X-Men be like, well, not all of us are like that. And I think that'd be really cool to save him. But I love this casting. This is perfect. And it gives me really hope that, because and now that I think about it, Marvel Studios, for the most part, I've never really had any issues with any of the casting that they've made. Like, maybe a few choices cameo wise, but even then, it's not big enough of a deal for me to really criticize. I'm trying to think, like John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Strange too. Like, I liked that casting. He was good in the 4, maybe 3 minutes he was in that movie. So it's not even something where I can say, oh, that was bad casting. It's just underutilized. But they've nailed casting, and it's seemingly at every turn. So I'm really excited to see what they do with X-Men. We already have rumors of some other X-Men are being cast, or at least people looked at for certain roles. So I'm really excited to see how this plays out. And I wonder again if maybe they kind of keep a lot of that close to the chest, because we know that movie's not coming out in 2028, because they already announced Ghost Rider and Black Panther 3. So this is probably going to be a 2029 movie. So we're 3 years away from this movie actually coming out. So I wonder if maybe they're going to really keep most of these roles secret until they do their big Comic-Con panel reveal. Because I think that would be cool, where it was just, we don't really know who the X-Men are going to be played by until Comic-Con, where they're like, here you go, here's your Professor X, here's your Cyclops, Jean, Magneto, Jean, I'm not going to say anymore. But yeah, I think that would just be really cool. But unfortunately, it was not all good news for Marvel Studios this weekend. We got confirmation, and it was mostly just, it was basically confirming what everyone had already known. Mahershala Ali, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, he has confirmed himself that his Blade movie is dead and has officially moved on from the project. He was in an interview with GQ, and he basically said that even if they do make a Blade movie, he's done. He said, quote, "No offense to them. I've been doing this professionally for pushing 30 years now, and the only thing I've learned is that what is for you, and what is not is not. For whatever reason, the project is not for me. If they wanted to do it, we would have done it. So I have to move on, and I have moved on." I don't blame him for being a little annoyed. I think fans share his sentiment where it's like, how hard is it to make a vampire hunter movie set in the MCU? It is really one of those weird, confusing decisions where they announced it like in 2019 before they even had a script ready from the sounds of it. And then again, I wonder if maybe it was just Marvel kind of being high on their own supply, where it's like, you just released Infinity War and Endgame. You're basically, at the top of the mountain, can do no wrong kind of thing. And so they're like, yeah, this guy wants to play Blade. Let's just do it. Do we have a story? No, we'll figure that out. And it's just, oh yeah, maybe we should have had a pitch before we came to him and was like, hey, you want to play Blade? So I wonder if it's just one of those scenarios of just the egos got in the way and they put the cart before the horse, and in the end just couldn't get that movie off the ground, which again, really, really bizarre to me that they couldn't. But I guess maybe it's the supernatural element. That's the one area where the MCU is kind of toyed with and dipped their toe in, but they've never fully gone into full magic. Like even Doctor Strange, like it took Doctor Strange 2 to really kind of even crack that door open a little bit with Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange, and making it a little bit more magical, where even the first Doctor Strange was like, it's kind of magic. We're drawing energy from other dimensions, but like we're not saying like spells and like I'm using the Eye of Otum and the Hands of Fate and all that stuff. Like you didn't have any of that. It was very as grounded as they could try and make that kind of thing. And so I wonder if that's part of the thing that kind of made them stumble, is they were just they don't seem comfortable with the supernatural stuff. Like even Moon Knight, they did a little bit better with that, but even still, it was very much like, we'll show him fighting, undead cap gods for a brief minute and, have a kaiju fight at the end, but we're not going to go whole hog in on him just fighting monsters and stuff like that. Like, again, we got some of that a little bit with Werewolf by Night, but that's a Disney Plus, special presentation. It's not like they were creating a $150 million movie all about that. So I wonder if that's kind of where they went wrong, is just they don't feel comfortable in the supernatural magic realm of things, and they're just can't get over that hump, which I hope they do, because there's some interesting stuff you can do with the Marvel universe, and to bring that to audiences, and audiences are ready for that. I mean, we've got fantasy movies, we've got stuff with magic and everything in it, so I don't know why all of a sudden if you put a guy in a mask and a cape or a trench coat and then be like, oh yeah, and Iron Man's in the same universe, like it works for the comics for decades now. I don't know why you couldn't do that for movies. But unfortunately, that was not the only confirmation of something being canceled by Marvel Studios this week. We found out that months after it getting renewed for season 2, the show Wonder Man will not be going forward with the season 2. It's done. And one of the creators, Andrew Guest, acknowledged, quote, important decisions that fans are having following word of the show's cancellation. He said, quote, let me see. I have been listening. I appreciate you all. I feel how you all feel. I appreciate everyone getting out there and letting your voices be heard about how you feel about this. I think there's important conversations being had online about the kinds of stories we're prioritizing and the kind of shows that platforms want to make. So what this was kind of in reference to is that on top of the Blade news and Wonder Man show, a lot of people started to look at like, hey, a lot of the movies and shows that have been canceled by Marvel Studios recently feature predominantly black actors and characters. I don't think there's personally, I don't think that there's a racial component behind it. I think it's Marvel and Disney having to kind of reassess how much they're willing to spend on stuff, especially on Disney Plus. Like, we already know that Lucasfilm has come out and said that, yeah, we're cutting back budgets for all of our streaming shows. Like Ahsoka season 2 is going to have a smaller budget than season 1. I think it's more of just them realizing, like, hey, we can't spend 200, 300 million on a Disney Plus show because we are just not going to get that kind of money back. And so I think that's where this is coming from. And plus, I think they're trying to clear the deck for whatever comes after Secret Wars. Like I said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, I think Daredevil Born Again season 3 next year, I think that's the last season of Daredevil we get for a while. I think that's maybe partially why they're bringing back all of the Defender actors, like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, all of that. I think it's because it's kind of going to be a one last hurrah before the universe gets reset and we don't even know who's going to be in the MCU anymore after Secret Wars. So that's where I'm coming from. I get people's perspective on it, but Kevin Feige doesn't seem like the kind of guy that picks and chooses project based on race and stuff like that. I mean, this is the guy that was championing for a Black Panther movie, and it was Ike Perlmutter who was keeping that from actually happening. And then as soon as Ike Perlmutter left, Black Panther was greenlit. Like, so I don't think that there was a racial component to it. I think it's just, unfortunately, and again, in the case of Blade, who knows what happens there. And even Feige, again, has expressed he feels really bad and annoyed that that project did not get off the ground. But I wonder if this is a lot of, especially because Disney's taken a lot of losses this summer with Mandalorian and Grogu not doing great at the box office, and the Moana live action movie not doing great, and so they really only got really Doomsday at the end, and then I think an animated movie in November. So again, and they've cut back on their Disney Plus content now that I think about it. It's like Daredevil Born Again season 2 is the only thing from Marvel besides Vision Quest and Punisher that has come out. Like, we're not getting I guess X-Men 97. So maybe that's an ignorant statement on my part now that I think about it. But I do think that they're going to start pulling back on budgets and projects. Like, the time of being able to just put out anything and slap the Marvel Studios logo on it is over. So that's my take on all this. Again, I don't think it's racially motivated. I think it's more of just Disney tightening the purse, so to speak, and saying, okay, hey, if we're going to greenlight something, we have to know that it's going to be a surefire thing, and it happens to be these specific characters. But I mean, to me, that doesn't mean that we can't get Wonder Man in the future. I think it just means, hey, we can't spend X number of millions of dollars on a TV show for that. But moving on to some good news for Marvel, Spider-Man Brand New Day obviously came out. Again, I have a spoiler-free review up on the Substack right now for you to check out if you want. But it just did absolute gangbusters. It's already made over $1 billion. It shattered Avengers Endgame's record of biggest domestic opening weekend in history. Endgame made, let me see. Okay, I don't have it listed, but the record that they broke it, the amount that they broke the record with was $360 million opening domestic for the domestic weekend, and that's just the domestic side. And again, it's made $1 billion already. So I mean, that's awesome. I'm glad to see that. It's nice to see Spider-Man doing well, and it's a good movie on top of that, so that helps. If you want to hear my full thoughts again, it's not a perfect movie. Go check out my review and you can see what issues I had with it. But I think for me, while this is good, I don't know if this is an indicator for Doomsday as to how Doomsday is going to do, because I think Spider-Man is more of in a different echelon than Avengers and everything. Because again, that Spider-Man, like, people were chomping at the bit for this. I mean, one, it helped that you had the last Spider-Man, No Way Home, do, like, I think almost $2 billion at the box office. Like, people loved that movie. It ended on an interesting status quo change for Spider-Man. So I think there was a lot of intrigue of, hey, I want to see what happens next, where they go with this kind of a thing. And you had a 5-year wait in between, so people were chomping at the bit for Spider-Man. I mean, you got to remember, earlier this year, including myself, people were just like, hey, where's the trailer? Where's the trailer? Come on, Sony. Like, you got only 2 months before this thing comes out. And then when the trailer did drop, everyone lost their minds. And so I think it was just, there was a lot of buildup, a lot of goodwill. So people were really excited to see it, and it's a very, for me, I think it's a easier entryway for people who've maybe not kept up with the MCU at large, because I think that's the thing is people have dropped off the MCU, whether we want to admit it or not. Like, box office results have been down for the MCU. People aren't watching MCU shows as much. So I think with this, it was like, okay, it's an easy entry. Like, you can watch this movie and really not see anything else to be able to understand what's going on. Like, you don't really need to know who the Punisher is. They explain that in the movie. They give the basics for his character enough that you understand who he is and what he does. Hulk, everyone knows who Hulk is because he's been around since the Incredible Hulk. So you have that, and that's really it. And if you watch the other Spider-Man movies, which everyone has, you know what you need. There's not that barrier to entry the way there is for Doomsday, where it's like Doomsday has kind of a catch-22 where, on the one hand, the story and plot line they're doing with like the incursions in Doom has not been set up, but you have a lot of characters that were in other things 4 or 5 years ago. Like, you would have to watch, if you want to know what Shang-Chi's about, you have to go watch Shang-Chi. Now, thankfully, a lot of people did, and it's a good movie. But I mean, you if you didn't watch Thunderbolts, which not a lot of people did, again, I highly recommend. It's good. Or Fantastic Four, which again, not a lot of people did, and that's another good one. It's just there's not that synergy and audience trust going into that the way there was for Spider-Man. So for me, this is not indicative of how Doomsday is going to do at the box office. But again, we'll see. We got another few months before that comes out, and I'm wondering if maybe as we get closer, we'll see how the hype levels build up for that movie, and especially with maybe another trailer that's a little bit more plot centric, a little more Doom centric. Maybe that'll get more people interested. But and maybe even then, with this movie doing as well as it does, maybe it kind of rekindles some people's love for the MCU who maybe have dropped off. But that is not the only good news that we got as Spider-Man fans. Sony confirms that they are not doing any more spin-offs for their own Spider-Man universes, and thank God. Sony Pictures chairman and CEO Tom Rothman was quoted as saying, "Right now, we don't know. We never looked at it as the Sony Marvel universe. We looked at if there were worthwhile movies to make with other characters. At the moment, there are none in active development." AKA, all of our movies that we tried bombed, and so we're giving up on that. And I mean, thank God. Like this, it was just annoying, and they were sinking their own brand and everything. And I'm glad that they're doing that. And I wonder too if maybe this also kind of shows that they're more willing to work with Marvel now. They're not so cocky, because I think that was part of it. Is just you had Far From Home that did $1 billion, and people were just loving Spider-Man. Then Venom, the first Venom, did $1 billion, so they're like, "Oh, we could take our ball and go home. We don't need Marvel Studios anymore. We don't need Big Brother. We can do our own thing." And then these came out, and they gave them a slice of humble pie, and they're like, "Oh crap, maybe we do need Marvel Studios to help us make our movie and everything." Because I mean, there's always talk of, well, what if Sony just pulls the plug and takes Tom Holland's Spider-Man, which a lot of people were wondering. I was wondering after No Way Home. I was like, is the ending made in such a way so that they could easily just say, and now Spider-Man's in his own universe again, and we're not going to ever mention Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever again? And thankfully that's not the case, but there was time where I thought that maybe was a possibility. And so I wonder if now they've seen, okay, people like having Spider-Man connected to stuff. Because I mean, one of the things people have been talking about is all the different stuff. Like, we get to see Spider-Man fight the Hulk. We get to see Spider-Man and Punisher team up in that movie. And I think Sony, whether they want to admit it or not, it's like, well, if we took that away, I don't know if people would be as excited. Like, because even the Spider-Verse movies, for all, the hype and deservedly so that they get, they don't make, none of those movies have made $1 billion. Only ones that have made $1 billion are the Spider-Man movies connected to the MCU. And so I think that if Sony has a brain in their head, I think they're realizing that, hey, people want to see this character interact with other heroes. We can't just pull the plug on this. So on the one hand, with this is good, but I think it also means Sony's going to keep the rights. I don't think there's any chance now, especially with Spider-Man Brand New Day breaking records as it is, that they're ever going to sell those rights back to Marvel. Like, I think unless the next Spider-Man movie just bombs terribly, which I don't think it will, that I think we're in for a Sony Marvel partnership. But maybe Sony's not going to be as stingy with who Marvel can use, because there was a whole idea of like, okay, well, if there was a character in a spin-off show or movie that Sony was producing, then that meant Marvel Studios could not use them in their Spider-Man movies. Like, that's one of the reasons I think we haven't seen a Black Cat in the MCU Spider-Man movies yet, is because for the longest time there was a Black Cat and Silver Sable spin-off movie that was in development, which sounds like it's dead now. So thank God we can finally use those characters as they're supposed to be with Spider-Man. So I'm excited and happy for this. And again, I hope if Marvel Studios can't own the license to Spider-Man outright, I'm glad that it looks to be that they're in a place where Sony is going to be a lot more cooperative with letting them play with all the toys, so to speak. But moving on to the other big comic book company, DC, Booster Gold, the TV show that's been in active development for HBO Max, had some interesting news this week. First, we had the original writer for it, David Jenkins, confirming on the heels of Blade being confirmed as dead in the water. He took that and tweeted and said, hey, my stuff won't be moving forward with the Booster Gold show as well. But then the Wrap came out and said after this that the development on the project will move forward with a completely new creative team. So I wonder if this is just the case of I mean, I'm glad to hear this, because I think especially now that we know that Blue Beetle's going to be in Superman's sequel, Man of Tomorrow, I'm wanting to get like a Booster Gold Blue Beetle show, like make that the show. And I wonder if that's partially what they're doing. If maybe now that they're like, okay, we're definitely going to have Blue Beetle in our universe, and this is the guy playing him, they're like, okay, let's rewrite the show and include Blue Beetle and make it more of a buddy cop or a buddy comedy kind of a thing. And it might even be just on top of that maybe just Gunn did not like the take that they were going with in terms of the character Blue Beetle, maybe, or not Blue Beetle, Booster Gold. And that could be it as well, where he read the scripts and he's like, this is not the kind of thing I was wanting. So, I mean, I'm happy for it. Again, at some point, I think, though, we're going to need to get some movie news, because, I mean, there was the whole joke of an actress being cast in the Jimmy Olsen show, and everyone's like, Marvel's over here making $1 billion with Spider-Man, and we're getting TV show news. So I do wonder if maybe in the next couple of months, James Gunn is going to come out with some more announcements and just be like, all right, here's the next movies after Man of Tomorrow. Especially, like, if I were them, and say Lanterns does really good, which early reports say that it sounds like it's a really good show. Again, that last trailer we talked about last week, it has me really sold on it. If that does well, and then you also have Clayface clean up at the box office pretty well and get good reviews and stuff like that, I would build on that momentum and use it to announce, and here's when Wonder Woman's coming out, June 2028 or whatever the date would be or whatever, and then be like, and here's our Batman, and we're going to start filming in 2028 or whatever for a 2029 release. Just, I think he needs to get that out. Just have a fandom or go to Comic-Con, something. You need to start announcing some stuff for fans to get hyped up, because especially after Supergirl not doing well at the box office at all. And again, I didn't mind that movie. I thought it was pretty good. Not great, but it was a fun time to watch for me. I think you really need to instill some fan confidence, because if Lanterns doesn't do good and Clayface is not great and bombs at the box office, one, that's a lot of pressure on Man of Tomorrow, and two, fans are going to be like, okay, so does this mean if Man of Tomorrow doesn't do $1 billion, is the DCU done? And I don't want it to be. I'm rooting for it. I liked Superman 2025. I've enjoyed a lot of the stuff that James Gunn has done, and I'm excited for what he has in store. But it's just, he's got to get on it, and giving us news on Booster Gold and the Jimmy Olsen show, as much as I'm excited for both, isn't what's going to get butts in the movie theater. So we'll see. But on to our last piece of news, transitioning. So obviously we talked about a couple weeks ago, Ryan Hurst was playing Kratos in the God of War TV show series for Amazon Prime. He got injured and lost the role as a result. Again, sucks for him. I feel real bad. But now it's been reported that Dave Bautista, obviously he played Drax the Destroyer in the MCU, is in talks to play Kratos now. And I think I'm fine with this choice. I've always thought Batista is actually one of the better wrestlers turned actors. He actually has some range, and thinking more and more about it, I think he could be a really good Kratos. He has the ability to kind of stay serious. I mean, especially if you look at his performance in Guardians 1 with Drax, where he's not really expressive. He doesn't yell a lot, and when he does, it's scary. But he can be a very, quiet talker that's also menacing, and puts a lot of emphasis on his body language and stuff. Like, I think he could do it, and he's got the size for Kratos. So we know that he can build the muscle, because that, I talked about this last time. That was my biggest worry with the recast, is just you have to find someone who can both physically look like Kratos but also act like him. And so that's a tall order. I mean, it's one of the things that I remember a lot of people talk about with a lot of superhero roles, of just like, yeah, this person is great, but can they get bulked up for the role so they can look like it? So I think this is actually a really good choice, and I'm excited to see if he gets it, what he does with it, because I think he can do it. I really do. He can really bring that pathos and tragedy to Kratos that you need. Again, we saw it with Drax, especially in Guardians 1, which I think is his best performance as Drax the Destroyer, before they kind of leaned a little too much into the comedy. I really liked what he did in that first Guardians movie. So if he can bring some of that energy, I think that this could be a really good casting. But that's all the news that I had for this week. Again, thank you so much for listening. A lot of stuff to talk about. And now we'll move on to paid subscriber questions. And I actually got a shout out for my newest paid subscribers. So Eric Danielson, thank you so much for subscribing and upgrading your subscription, and your support is really appreciated. Again, it helps me to continue to do this and do it well, and have the equipment that I need for it, and be able to see the movies and all that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoy all the extra perks that you get being a paid subscriber here at Loudner in the Basement. But to our subscriber question it is this. As we head into August, we hit that unique quiet lull in cinema, what Hollywood historically called the dump month, between massive summer blockbusters and the heavy hitter fall film festival rush like Venice and TIFF. As a critic, do you think the August dump month concept is officially dead in the modern era, or do studios still use this window to hide movies they don't believe in? I'll answer that question first, because it's kind of a two-parter. As far as the dump month, I do think that the dump month concept is dead, except for January. I do think January is legitimately the one month of the year where movies go to die, because you have the left. Usually, people aren't in the mood to watch movies in January. It's like you have all these holidays between November and December, and a lot of people doing a lot of things, and a lot of big movies that come out in December now. Like this year, the second to last week before or the week before Christmas, we get Doomsday and Dune Part 3. And so those are going to be dominating for the next month because you get the early goers that go opening weekend like me. You maybe get some people going around the holidays and both more New Year's, I think, than Christmas. I don't think people are going to the movies on Christmas, but so you got that, and then you got the repeat viewings in January because not a lot is coming out. Maybe a few things on streaming, but even then, there's not a lot of streaming releases in January. And again, usually not a good sign that they're being dumped in January because they kind of get lost in the shuffle. So that would be, I think that's the only dump month. I do think August is more of just like okay, this is more for our movie that I think it's another way for people to avoid the crowded weeks in June and July. Like I've said many times with stuff, if something like He-Man or Supergirl came out in August, I think those movies would have done a lot better than they did. So I think that's what August is used for now. Is just like, okay, I don't think that our movie can compete with like the latest MCU movie or Toy Story or whatever. Let's move it to August and kind of ride the coattails of and momentum of the movies that are already hitting $1 billion. So that's where that's how I view August. I don't think it's a dump month anymore. Just again, because there's so many movies that things just have to naturally get spread out, because otherwise you get a June situation where you have movies that probably would have done well if they weren't coming out around 3 other big major blockbusters. So that's how I view it. And maybe you have some older executives that still have that mentality of like, well, we can't put it in August. It'll look like we don't believe in the movie. But like, there's a couple of movies coming out this month, and actually that's the second part of the question. And looking ahead at the calm before the fall awards storm, is there a quiet dark horse release or sleeper hit on your radar that you think could surprise everyone and dominate the conversation? So yeah, I think there's actually 2 coming out this month that are kind of on my radar. I'm only reviewing one of them just due to scheduling. But the first one is End of Oak Street with Ewan McGregor and Anne Hathaway. It's the movie where their family in the suburbs and their house or their neighborhood gets transported back to dinosaur times, and it's basically them figuring out why they're there and how they're going to get back and how to survive. I think that could be a sleeper hit. You could kind of scratch that Jurassic Park itch that maybe the last couple of Jurassic World movies didn't. And then you also have the end of the month, the one that I am going to be reviewing, Coyote versus Acme. I've seen some people on Substack compare it to maybe Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that kind of feel to it. I like how it looks. The first trailer had me rolling. It looks great, almost like it looks like it's going to be a fun for all ages thing where you get the slapstick comedy of the cartoon characters for the kids, and then for the adults, one, you get that nostalgia hit with the Looney Tunes characters, but you also get kind of that corporate satire that it seems to be going for. It's like, oh, we're going to make fun of big corporation. I mean, the fact that like they are making fun of Warner Brothers, who tried to shelve the movie in the trailer, tells me that this movie could be a really sleeper comedy hit. So I'm really excited for those 2. So, and maybe later on down the line, Godzilla -0, just because I do think Godzilla -1 got talked about a little bit, but then it kind of left. And again, it's more of a niche monster movie thing. And also it's a foreign film. So you also have that aspect to it as well. I'm looking forward to that. That comes out in November. I'm probably going to see that and review that in theaters. I'm looking forward to it. But that's the answer to that question. Thank you so much for submitting that. And again, if you want to be able to submit your own questions for the podcast, all you got to do is upgrade your membership on my Substack to paid. Just click on the upgrade button and it'll walk you through the process to do so. And thank you so much again for your support. I really do appreciate it. Before we get out of here, I'll go ahead and talk about what I'm watching. Obviously, like I've been saying, I've been watching X-Men 97. Been really enjoying that. This week's episode was kind of a nice little more character-driven thing before we get to the season finale. I can't believe we're already here. I will be reviewing that on my Substack in a couple weeks. So be on the lookout for that. I've been really enjoying that though. It's been so good. Having that and Spider-Man has been kind of just like a, man, I can get my Marvel fix finally, kind of a thing. And then I've also been watching House of Dragon. We got the finale next week as well. The last few episodes have started to pick up steam. I talked about how it felt like they were spinning their wheels a little bit, just kind of waiting for almost the budget to be freed up so they could do some more dragon stuff. And in this most recent episode, we got that. And so we also have characters dying, major characters dying, and it reminds me again of more of those earlier seasons of Game of Thrones where you're just like, oh, I didn't expect that, or like, oh, that's a twist. And it's engaging and good again. And I don't feel like it's insulting my intelligence the way the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones did. So I've been enjoying that. Obviously, again, I saw Spider-Man Brand New Day. Go on the Substack to check out the review for that. Again, spoiler free, so you don't have to worry about being spoiled on anything, and don't spoil anything in the comments if you can help it. And then I'll have a spoiler review or spoiler article, coming out next Monday for paid subscribers. So look out for that. And then on Wednesday for all subscribers, both free and paid, I'm going to have an article talking about what can the MCU do to regain audiences' trust, or can they regain audiences' trust? I got a really good theory as to what they can do that, and the answers and research that I did may surprise you in terms of how good the MCU has actually been doing these last couple of years. I promise you, it's not going to be a negative hit piece. I'm not going to be complaining about woke or whatever garbage. And I'm just looking at the numbers, at the data, and at the quality of the films. I'm not going to do any of that culture war garbage. It's purely based on movies. So be sure to look out for that next Wednesday. But that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I will be back next week with more news. Bye.